I wanted to give some current news on John Nord, who wrestled as the Berserker in the WWF in the early 1990s, and Nord the Barbarian in the AWA, a great character in the 1980s. He does have Minnesota roots, and so there's been a lot online that I've read about his recent arrest and what's been going on there, and it just seems like there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I went right to the source and checked out what actually happened through the Minnesota court systems, and this is what happened, and I'm pretty confident it did. If I don't know something, I will speculate based on my knowledge of what happens in the court systems, but I'll make sure I say this is just speculation at this time. And it's always important to note that as he's going through some of these charges, everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and so, but we might even find out that there might be a guilty plea here towards the end. So, well, actually, it started back in February of 2009, February 4th, 2009. Nord was arrested for first-degree driving while intoxicated, refusal to submit to a chemical test, and a hit and run. And that is from based on future arrests and stoppages. That's where he lost his driver's license in essence, and I think so it kind of goes back to there because that was brought up in arrest just in February, that it was on the arrest record that he lost his license in February 2009, and from what I could tell from that report, I don't know this for sure, but at least based on that report, it appears that he has not had a license since that time because he hasn't been able to get it reinstated. And he has had some smaller arrests between there, and I think and I honestly think this is the whole thing that's kind of caused so many of these problems, which is sad because when I met him, I mean, yeah, I hate to say anything bad about him because he was a really nice guy, but he's just having some issues right now, and that's kind of one reason I wanted to do this report was to get the truth out there. So he had first degree driving while intoxicated, or I guess impaired maybe is the word they used at that time, and that's kind of, I'm guessing since it was a first degree, I think there was some record before that too of that. I don't have that official, but he has had lots of small ones, but you wouldn't get a first degree unless it was something horrendous. Maybe the hit and run had something to do with that as well. At that time, he got 180 days. It was, in essence, 180 days in jail, but they let him do 180 days of home detention. It might have had something to do with they wanted to keep him working. That sometimes happens, and if you pretty much go to work, you come home, and then you can't leave home, or something like that. I don't know. I mean, there might have been some restitution needed on the hit and run, and so that could happen. Okay, so that's kind of where this whole thing all started. So then you fast forward to this past year, and there's actually 3 different counties all involved with this, all around the Twin Cities area, and that's, I think, another reason why maybe the record isn't quite obvious as what is going on. And it seems like it started in Hennepin County, and Hennepin County is Minneapolis for the most part. The majority of Minneapolis is in Hennepin County, and that's pretty much what covers it. You actually go back to something I just found interesting. On June 21st, 2018, he got, in essence, pulled over or charged with driving after cancellation. The fine was just $308. There wasn't really a lot else going on there, but the odd thing about that one is when you go into the public records, the address that was listed under his name was the correctional work release in Plymouth, Minnesota. Plymouth, Minnesota is a suburb of Minneapolis, pretty much just to the west of it, and so in June of 2018, he was already has an address of correctional work release Plymouth. So that's probably he's already in trouble of some kind, and that was June of 2018, and I don't even think that was part of this whole recent kind of domino effect of what's going on. And That one actually is still open as well, but I believe it's just for the actual fine itself. I don't think there's anything else beyond the fine, but it's just another. Anytime you get that much on your record, it's just going to keep every little thing on your record is going to be escalated compared to someone who, if that's the first thing they've ever done on their record. Even though driving after cancellation is usually a pretty big thing, but I mean, I live in a small county in Minnesota, and usually about once a week, someone gets a ticket for driving after cancellation. So, and it's like a $300 ticket. I don't think I've never seen any jail time for just that. It's got to be more like a DWI or other outstanding warrant. Okay, so then you go to Hennepin County, and I think the thing that kind of started off this domino effect was November 13th, 2018. So this would have been last November. He has a DWI felony, and then he also has the driving after cancellation, which is charged as a gross misdemeanor. This is according to the original police report, or the original complaint, I guess is the way you would call it. His blood tested positive for nordazepam and talopodium. I don't know how to pronounce those drugs possibly, so I'm probably a little bit off on that. Hopefully, you guys could, if it's important. But but it was listed in the original complaint, so those obviously are things that you don't want to have in your blood. I'm not sure if it's just for the driving aspect of it, or if it's even something that you wouldn't want in your. That'd be illegal to have in your blood at any time. He also had 19 Ambien pills were found in the vehicle, according to the original complaint. The original complaint actually stated that he was on I-94 in Dowling Avenue in Minneapolis. And so that's I-94 is kind of one of the main things that go through Minneapolis. And so he was kind of at the intersection. It doesn't say specifically exactly where, like the exact location, just I-94 in Dowling Avenue. But if you look on a map where that intersects, it will be a little bit north. We're talking north of downtown Minneapolis, still definitely in the heart of the greater metropolitan area. And he was found either sleeping or unconscious in his vehicle on the side of the road. He was in the car. The car was running, or in the vehicle was running. He was at the side of the road, and he was either sleeping or unconscious. I don't believe he was blocking traffic or anything else like that from the way the report was written. Once again, that's just speculation. Except then they found the pills, and then he must have at some point had to give a blood sample, and that was not good. So because of this, he got a DWI felony charge and a driving after cancellation gross misdemeanor charges. 2 charges there. And then bail or bond was set, and that was set at $60,000 with no conditions, $20,000 with conditions. So $60,000 he could have paid, and pretty much you just have to show up for court. That's all you have to do. You're pretty much a free man. Just make sure it's just to hold you, and you're going to show up for your scheduled court dates. $20,000 with conditions. Conditions usually, I didn't get all the conditions, but it was like you can't drink alcohol, you can't take any drugs unless they're prescribed prescription drugs. Probably can't leave the state of Minnesota, which is maybe what is causing some travel issues at this time. State law abiding, you contact probation, and then also he pretty much is subject to random drug testing or breath testing or anything. You're pretty much subject to, hey, if we want to test you to make sure that you're following the rules, we can do that pretty much whenever we want. You have to keep everyone notified of your phone number, your address, and I think they even want you to stay employed because you figure that's better than out causing trouble in some cases. And that's just general conditions for bail, and I'm not sure which one specific. I'm guessing because usually for a DWI you are going to get you definitely do not drink alcohol at any time, even if you're not driving, because they just see that as setting you up to fail. So he had $20,000 with conditions, $60,000 without conditions. it's not always clear, but from everything I could tell, he had not posted bail of any kind, and that's kind of where some of the issues come in, is maybe as missing, but he might have, because he did make a February appearance at an AWA reunion event. It could have been considered work, because he's going to need money to pay off all of this stuff that's happening. So I'm not sure how that worked. Or he could have posted bail with conditions, but one of the conditions could have been not leaving the state, and hence he can go to events in Minnesota. You can't go to events in New Jersey or New York. So that's where it all comes down to. He has a DWI felony in Hennepin County. He just had his omnibus trial, which either leads to a trial, but he pleaded guilty at the omnibus. Actually, I'm guessing it's a guilty plea bargain type thing, and the results of that have not been disclosed yet to the public. Probably in the next few days, we might actually even be able to get a little bit more on that, and I'll try to keep you updated if you're following this. But so he pleaded guilty to this, and he might have. And the other thing with the guilty plea is you might drop one. He might actually even get out of the felony. It might just become a gross misdemeanor or something. You never know what this guy. He's got enough going for him. It depends on what the prosecuting attorney wants to do and stuff like that. But the original charge is a DWI felony and a driving after cancellation gross misdemeanor. So even though while that's going on, there's more. And the other thing is we're following a warrant from Ramsey County, Minnesota, and Ramsey County is pretty much the heart of St. Paul. I mean, you're pretty much talking St. Paul is in, almost all of St. Paul is in Ramsey County. Some of the suburbs might be in some other counties, but the heart of St. Paul, Minnesota, is in Ramsey County. And there he has a gross misdemeanor charge and 2 regular misdemeanor charges for an occurrence that happened on January 4th, 2019. They're the ones that brought up that the license was canceled in 2009 because of multiple DWIs. That's even what it says on the complaint. For this one, he had an accident on Larpenteur and Highway 280, so it's just 2 roads in Ramsey County. Highway 280 is kind of a major highway. Larpenteur is actually a pretty major road too, so he had an accident, and one of the things that he had was he gave the name Terrence John Lord to the police officer, which they did not like either, so he got in trouble for that because that's considered giving a false name. So that was one of the misdemeanors, actually a fictitious name. The gross misdemeanor was driving after cancellation. He has the misdemeanor of giving a fictitious name, which is Terrence John Nord. According to the original complaint, he stated that he gave his brother's name so that he wouldn't get in as much trouble because obviously he's already got the thing. And then the other misdemeanor was an uninsured vehicle, which makes sense because if you're not supposed to be driving, you probably don't have insurance on your vehicle, and now he's gotten in an accident. There was, according to the original complaint for this one in Ramsey County, there was this, there was no drugs or alcohol or anything involved in this one. It was just the driving after cancellation, giving a false or fictitious name, and uninsured vehicle. 1 gross misdemeanor, 2 misdemeanors. But then he got a warrant because he didn't appear at his first hearing. But the reason he didn't appear probably at his first hearing was because he was dealing with everything over in Hennepin County. But eventually they now kind of just posted. It's so weird. Of course, I mean, we have such an electronic age. You think that, especially 2 cities right next to each other in the same state, they're just all kind of 2 counties. They're all kind of working on their own system here. And so they had a warrant thinking he should be there, not realizing all the stuff that was going on in Hennepin County. I think they finally realized it as they kind of dropped the warrant and realized, I mean, he's still going to get charged with this stuff, but they realized that he's got other legal stuff to take care of, so they're not going to push it right now. They're just going to wait for this stuff in Hennepin County to be done so that they can take care of him in Ramsey County. But then if that's not bad enough, then we have one in Anoka County. And this stems from an event that happened December 14th, 2018. So this would have been after the Hennepin County one, but before the Ramsey County one. And Anoka County, that's north of Minneapolis. Minneapolis has grown out. You're getting into the suburbs. If you're familiar with the area at all, well, Anoka is actually a city in Anoka. I'm trying to think of what else is Champlin. Maple Grove, I believe, is in Anoka County. Coon Rapids and stuff like that. So yeah, it's suburban North Minneapolis, someplace in Anoka County. And there was a call for someone driving that appeared intoxicated. And we don't have that much else on this one right now, except for, once again, he's got the gross misdemeanor of driving after cancellation, so he's got another charge there. And the no proof of insurance misdemeanor. And his bail for this one was set at $2,000. He was supposed to have a first appearance on February 13th, 2019. But that obviously he did not come to, so he's kind of got a bail here. And I don't really have much more details on that, except you have another gross misdemeanor and misdemeanor. And I think, and honestly, I believe, if you don't know the old Nord car dealership, that would be Spring Lake Park is in Anoka County, so he might have a few more ties up there. I'm not 100% sure on that. So that is what John Nord is dealing with right now legally. And so you have the original cancellation from 2009. You have something that happened in Hennepin County in the summer of 2018 where he was on conditional work release in Plymouth, probably based on something related to this. But then now he kind of has the triple whammy all in a row. He has the really bad one, the DUI felony in Hennepin County, which is kind of what he's going through right now. And then even if he gets that cleared somehow, he's got the Anoka County where he's got a gross misdemeanor and misdemeanor mainly from driving without cancellation. And the Ramsey County with the gross misdemeanor and 2 misdemeanors, with also throwing in the fictitious name to a police officer. It's like I said, he believes there's some sort of guilty plea entered into the Hennepin County one, so he's obviously pleading guilty to something. It might have been part of a plea bargain. We're not sure. It's going to take at least 2 or 3 months before we find out more on that. That's how slow the court systems go. But just looking at this from, this is just all speculation now, looking from this, I'm guessing we're going to be seeing some jail time here. Probably my best guess from dealing with stuff like this in the past and knowing what things like this go from covering it. I would assume close to a year in jail, and then you serve 2/3 of that, and then you can get out on parole. But they seem to like him working, which is good for him and good for everybody. And it kind of seems like he's dealing with a issue here more than, like, he's not going out and robbing banks and stuff like that. So there might be a little bit more lenience that way. He seems to just have a chemical dependency issue, and they'll probably issue him some chemical dependency treatment and help, and that's always good to see. And hopefully he can get this thing under control. It's just, he's also, I think, got to learn that if you don't have a driver's license, he's got to figure out some way. He seems to like to travel, and I'm not sure how close he is to the Minneapolis public transportation system. I know that's no fun either if you're used to being able to drive and stuff like that. So he's going to have to get that figured out. But that's what's going on in John Nord. He obviously missed his appearance at Wrestlemania weekend, which would have been really cool for everybody, especially out east. I'm sure that a lot of wrestling fans have never gotten to meet him. Yeah, so I'm just going to throw one other thing out there, and actually, if you've watched my other videos on my channel, we actually just saw him, or I actually just saw him a couple months ago. He's at an AWA appreciation event right in the Twin Cities, and first time I actually ever had the chance to meet him. And obviously, if he's been dealing with a lot in his past, he hasn't made a lot of public appearances, and he's not the easiest person to meet. And I was a little worried. I always liked him as a wrestler, both the Berserker and Nord the Barbarian, and then so I was going to try to see what he was like. And I've read a few things. He didn't seem like he was going to be the greatest meet of all time, but he was still someone I definitely wanted to meet. But I thought he was very cordial. He was very nice. He wasn't the most talkative person I've ever met, but I certainly cannot complain at all about the meeting with him. I thought, to me, he was very nice. He was very classy. He didn't seem like the kind of guy who would have all this other. And so this was after 2 of his recent arrests. Actually, all 3 of them would have even been before this date. So he would have been dealing with all this. Probably one reason he might have went to this event, because I know he made some money with some pictures and autograph signings at that event, and he might have even gotten an appearance fee. I'm not sure on that. And so, but now he had to cancel his WrestleMania thing. Probably another way he probably just saw, hey, I'm going to need some money to deal with all this stuff. So hopefully, I thought he was a class guy, and it pains me to see him in this much trouble. Hopefully he can get this chemical thing under control, because it doesn't seem like he does have a couple other past arrests for some small things, but I won't get into those because they're not important at this time. But overall, he doesn't seem like a bad person, and he just seems like he can't control his chemical dependency, and maybe painkillers too. And I know that's from a hard life of wrestling. So I really just hope that he can get his life together, and I will try to keep listeners updated as to what we are going to be doing with as the court proceedings go forward, and give you the accurate things of what's happening, so that you know this is coming. This is all coming straight from the Minnesota court system. This isn't stuff I'm reading online someplace or stuff like that. I work in ways that I can get this public. This is public information, but you just have to know how to get it. Is in essence is what you have to know how to do, and something that I did not know how to do until I started working in the system a little bit. So this is all public information, but at the same time, you have to get the right information, just not something you read online. So we'll follow this Hennepin County one especially, and we'll see. I'm going to guess that this is just going to play out completely before the Ramsey and Anoka County things get taken care of, and it's the most serious one. It's the only one with a felony in it as of this point. So we'll see what happens, and stay tuned to this channel, and we'll keep you updated. And hey, if you have the chance, just subscribe. I mean, this is... I'll break wrestling news, go to Wrestlemania, do everything else. We're up to 650 some, I think, right now, and I'd love to get that number to 700. So everyone have a great day.